Hello, welcome to Craft versus Cruft. I'm Ray Myers. I've been writing software professionally for about 12 years. And if I could boil down everything I've learned in that time to two words, they would be this: ship value. That means a lot of things. So let's unpack that a little bit. Recall the Agile Manifesto. One of the things it says is our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through the continuous delivery of valuable software. Continuous delivery of valuable software. That's beautifully said. Every word there means something. At the Shaolin Lohan School back in Missouri, they used to ask us, "What is Kung Fu?" And you had to reply exactly the right words with the in the right place and everything. It is the development of the mind through the discipline of the body. So when I ask someone what is agile, there are many things that would be valid they could say. But what I really hope they'll say is that agile is the continuous delivery of valuable software. Everything else flows from that. So what is value? Well, circularly, we'll say it has to do with that satisfying the customer thing. Business value is what we're talking about. And notice they don't say our first priority is to give the customer what they've asked for. They want to satisfy the customer. Those could be different things, as we'll see. Um, and they don't say it is continuously writing code. Continuously writing code might well be a good thing, but how do you know that that code is valuable? How do you know that it meets people's expectations? That the market will respond well to it, that it won't break. That these are all hard things, and continuously delivering it and figuring out how to get small functioning slices out into the world as continuously as possible are ways that we establish a feedback loop that proves we have value. So when I say ship value, why isn't that obvious? Well, because a lot of people who think they have a pretty good handle on how to do this don't have a lot of interest and concern for whether the code they're writing does actually generate business value, or for that matter, that it gets delivered. So you could be line for line as good a coder as anyone, and someone who's merely average, who has a concern and understanding for in your environment what actually delivering something means and what business value really is in terms of impact, will be able to run circles around you. This is a way that you can distinguish yourself. So let's think about this in a little more depth here. Sometimes what's valuable isn't code. That's why I say you want to ship value. Oftentimes you'll write code to do that, but start at the highest level. Maybe what you need to do is not that. Maybe you need to have an awareness of the ecosystem you're in and know that your company already has something that does what your customer is asking for close enough. And you could have that conversation. If you're asking us to implement this feature, but have you considered that this feature over here might do just that, or that there's this third party tool that we don't have to reinvent, so on and so forth. On one occasion, there was, I believe, a 3-month initiative that my team had been assigned to. That was going to be our primary focus for that entire quarter. And by being aware of the ecosystem, I was able to say, if you simply spent a couple of days linking this existing system we have to this one, we wouldn't have to invent this entirely new batch system. That we're already 90% of the way there, and that turned out to be true, and that initiative went away. On another occasion, when I was a little less experienced, I completely failed at this. Under my watch, my team worked for an entire sprint to implement a story that had been given to us, which was, we need a way of managing and updating this data that, it populates some menu in the application. And so what did we do? Well, at the time, a lot of us were in love with a tool, as we often are. many a young mind is infatuated with a particular type of hammer before we can distinguish a nail from a screw. And so we made this Grails application, this web app that allowed them to manage the items in the table, user friendly. Um, Great. Anyone could just log into this and set the menus to this exactly what they wanted it to, and then we might be able to recycle it for other menus. Seemed like a really good thing. We showed it to them afterward, and they said, "Well, it's brilliant that you did this, but this is not at all what I was asking for. We thought that was exactly, you asked for a way to manage this data." Well, as it turns out, we hadn't worked with these people before. That the department that needed to do that, they were technical. They were fairly capable of running SQL statements, and all they really wanted was a database grant. And they had been instructed to make stories very vague so as to allow negotiation. And so they didn't say, uh, right, give us a database grant, which would have been completely trivial to do. Instead, they just said, give us a way of managing this data. And we dropped the ball. We did not have the conversation with them to figure out, what exactly does that mean to you? Here's what we're thinking of doing. Would that fulfill your need? And they would have said, no, that's way over the top. You don't have to do that. And, we only spent a week on it, but then you have to maintain that going forward. So I think ultimately that was a pretty comical failure. So what's required here is a lot of critical thinking, seeing beyond requirements, having conversations, sometimes going against the grain, systems thinking. What's the implications of this? How does this deliver value with maybe what another team's doing? How's the system working? Your company itself is a system. Being critical about your processes. What is stopping you from shipping value today? And that might not be the thing you're immediately tasked with, right? Maybe you've got a lot of build failures slowing you down. Well, then, in order to ship value, which is your ultimate purpose, you have to fix the build. You need to spend some time doing that, and don't ask for that time. Just take it. Just do your job. Do it right. Do it well. Make sure that the system is going to be able to continue to deliver value. And if you can do that without completely bringing all feature movement to a halt, then it's not necessarily on anyone else to give you permission. We're talking about professionalism here. So have some backbone with that when you can, and ask for forgiveness, not permission. I've never seen anyone be fired for fixing the build. The build needs to work. So another thing is, learn the business domain, right? Understand, why is this thing valuable? And that way you can start to have conversations where you weigh the business value of different options versus the technical cost, and know that your customer, your business analyst, what have you, they ultimately know better than you, and you should respect their opinion on the component of business value, and you know better than them on technical cost, but you can still each learn enough about the other side that you can start to have really productive negotiations once you've built trust, and start to suggest alternative features. Well, you know, we could be working on 2 weeks to a month if we did it this way, but what if we did this adjacent thing and it was much cheaper? Would that be a better investment? Because then we'd be able to get to the next feature you'd want. And very often those kind of conversations will change the direction, be tremendously valuable, because you took the time to learn about why are we really doing this. Or they'll ask for a whole table full of things, whole set of things on the landing page. And well, okay, which of these is the most important one? Because some of these are cheap, some of these are very expensive, and they might say, oh, it turns out the cheap one, that's the really big one, and the others, I don't know, we could get to them later, maybe, if we could just get that main one, which turns out to be cheap, out quickly. And you can end up satisfying the customer a lot better if you don't just uncritically do exactly the list of things that have been handed down to you. If you can respectfully engage in these kinds of negotiations, with the understanding that what you're trying to do is deliver the most value, not just argue. So this is the algorithm. Find out what they want, find out why they want it, find out what's most important, deliver the most important part of the most important part, then start over, because the answers to those questions will have changed by now. And you will know me by the trail of satisfied product owners. Thank you very much for watching. This will be the first episode. This is, I think, the most important message, but there will be many more. So subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see. And remember what Lao Tzu said in the Tao Te Ching: with patience, the most tangled cord may be undone. Thank you.